And welcome back to another episode of The Grandstand here on the Ohio Patriot Education Network YouTube channel. I'm, as always, your host, AR the Ohio Patriot. And for today's episode, welcome to the constitutional amendment age, Democrats. Y'all fucked up yesterday, big time. Really fucked up yesterday. Because you got a bunch of idiots who decided to follow your bullshit lead and vote no on issue 1. Which is the tune of about 400,000 extra people. And in doing so, you kept Ohio's Constitution at 50% plus 1 vote. Big fucking mistake. The worst mistake y'all could ever made, honestly. Because all you did was you now allowed people like myself to get pissed and get motivated to make up our own amendments, which is what we're going to talk about today right now. Various things that in the next 6 months to a year, give or take, I would plan on introducing as ballot initiatives, hopefully, and hopefully be able to get enough signature gathering and stuff done to get them as proposed amendments on the Ohio Constitution, and basically enshrine a bunch of good stuff into our state constitution so that the left can go fuck itself forever, is what it is. So, anyway, basically, for those that haven't been paying attention to what's going on here in the state of Ohio, you had obviously issue 1 yesterday, which was if we voted yes for it and it actually would have gotten voted through, we would have had 60% plus 1 vote threshold change to that from 50% plus 1 vote. We would have also been the first state in the country to have every single county in our state actually have a say in ballot issues that we got on our ballot, is what it is. And that's the problem right now, right? Like, this is the biggest issue I have with the entire thing to begin with, is you have a bunch of leftist cities in this state, you have a bunch of leftist counties in this state who push bullshit amendments through, which, by the way, I want to point something out on this one. To all the fucking leftards out there and all the fucking rhino dipshits that voted no against this dude because they're like, oh, but citizen initiatives would never be a thing again. They haven't been for over a decade, you fucking morons. Legitimately. Literally every single leftist-run amendment that's been pushed towards the Ohio Constitution in the past 10 to 15 years, honestly, has all been from out-of-state billionaires and their fucking proxy organizations like Mama's Man Action and every time everything else like that, dude. Planned Parenthood, ACLU, etc. That's who's funding this shit. It's people like George Soros, people like Michael Bloomberg, etc. The same assholes that were funding the Vote No campaign. You know? The same pedophiles who rape children on a daily basis, honestly. The same pieces of shit like Soros who are fucking literal war criminals who helped Hitler and the SS kill a bunch of Jews in Nazi Germany. By his own admission, this man would out other Jewish people, which, by the way, he's Jewish himself, would out other Jews during Nazi Germany so that they could be taken off to death camps, killed, and meanwhile, Soros himself then would take their farms, their wealth, anything of value. There's what it was. And that's how he amassed his own fortune almost a century ago. And yet, we're allowing this piece of shit, who doesn't even live in America, by the way, let alone the state of Ohio, to fuck with our Constitution, to fuck with our, state constitutions, to fuck with our fundamental rights is what it is. And the worst thing is, you have these average voters out there that are so ingrained by the mainstream media, they don't know what the fuck is going on ever, dude. They have no clue what the hell's going on in the state, honestly. And I've talked about this for at least the past 6 years on this channel. If people knew exactly how corrupt Ohio was in both major parties, especially the Democrat Party, but also a bunch of Republicans for that matter, you would have a complete clean sweep of our General Assembly right now. Every single person would be booted out, and we would have a bunch of new people put in there. Which leads us into my First Amendment, actually, that I plan on introducing here, hopefully by next May is what it'll be. Which will be 1 county, 1 rep. And we're going to go over this whole thing. I've talked about it several times on this channel in the last few weeks or so. But, 1 county, 1 rep would drop Ohio's current 99 state reps and replace them with 88 state reps, 1 for each county in the state. Would also down the number of state senators from 33 to 22, with each one of the state senators now representing 4 counties. Finally, it would also reinforce term limits across the board, up to and including booting anyone out of office who has already skirted term limits by flip-flopping our General Assembly, and there's many, many people in there right now, from Cecil Thomas to Shane Wilkin, Paula Hicks Hudson, Catherine Ingram, Scott Olinger, Kirk Shearing, et cetera, et cetera. You know, Dems and Rhinos both for that matter. They've done it a bunch of times each, dude. Bob Peterson's another one of the people that did it most recently. He was in the state senate for 8 years and they became a state rep now by skirting our term limits. And that's another thing too, by the way. The term limit issue in Ohio here has only existed. I think actually that might have been the only one in the past like 15 years. And it wasn't Democrat done, by the way. It was basically either a bipartisan thing, whereas most Republicans that were the one pushing for it actually. And that was done about probably 15, 16 years ago, something like that now. It was back when I was like in my late teens, early 20s then that we actually voted on that. I'm not mistaken. I did vote for it is what it was. So that's the thing, right? Like you should have had that be enforced for like the past almost 20 years now is what it is. But yeah, they're not doing that. They simply skirt the fucking constitutional amendments that we're putting in place there. And then they're sitting there and fucking basically trying to become forever politicians, what it is. And that's the thing. We don't need career politicians. What we need is good civil servants, people who actually, by the way, respect the U.S. and Ohio Constitution laws when they take office. Something that every single Democrat has broken almost every single day they've been in office since the beginning of last year. Or sorry, since the beginning of this year, actually. But I say last year, obviously, too, because there was other people that were in office back then last year. So forth and so on. You know, every single General Assembly, pretty much Allison Russell has been part of, in case you want to, for that matter, in the past, 6 years or so, give or take. Each one of these assholes has broken their oath to office. For the past at least 4 years now, they've broken it every single day when they've been pushing gun control and killing of human life at that point through abortion and child sterilization, etc. And that's another thing too, by the way. All the shit that's being pushed here in November 7th, just over 3 months from, or just under 3 months from now, it's not just one amendment, dude. It should never be one amendment, honestly. I've said it before, I'll say it again. The Board of Elections in the state of Ohio, for the actual overall board for the entire state, needs to be investigated for bribery at this point, because they allowed an amendment on our state to be put on our ballot for our state constitution in November that should have been at least 3 different amendments, if not more than that. Because you have it's literally a copy and paste of what was passed in Michigan about a year ago. It is to basically allow abortion on demand without consequence. You can have any doctor say, "Oh, there's one pregnancy here that's like 5 or 6 months along, and it's a viable child, and then there's one over here that's like 9 months along, and it's not viable," and allow people to kill kids and want to birth is what it is there. And then meanwhile, you also have child sterilization in it because they're trying to put children on hormone drugs by claiming they're transgender. And this is the problem I have with the left entirely, dude, and why these pedophiles need to be in fucking prison right now. Because you have these individuals who openly advocate for trans kids when trans kids don't fucking exist. They are confused children that you fucking child molesters go after so that you can rape them later on, you sick fucks. And that's exactly why anybody that voted no yesterday is a fucking threat to this country, honestly, dude, and a threat to the state of Ohio, honestly, right now. And I don't know if you were hoodwinked, because some of you might have been, honestly. It's like that woman I talked to yesterday in the doctor's office. She was going to vote no until I informed her what the hell was really going on, because she was so confused as a voter. And it's the same thing with a lot of people, for that matter. You had so many attack ads from these out-of-state billionaires from California to New York to, Massachusetts, whatever the fuck it was there. It doesn't matter, honestly. Bloomberg source, etc. there. People that were from Virginia, California, New York, etc., spending most recently in the past couple of weeks $7 million in ad buys here. And then, tens of millions before that, even for that matter. So you have these people who were pushing this bullshit attack ad, having a pair of scissors with the word issue 1 written on it, and it literally cutting up a constitution. The only people cutting up the Ohio Constitution are you fucking dickless leftists, is what it is, dude. By trying to enshrine abortion into our Constitution, because you can't do it legitimately through our General Assembly. You never have the power here. And we know that for a fact. I know that for a fact personally, because I've talked about it before, dude. When you look back at every single General Assembly since the Dayton Massacre in 2019, a little over 4 years ago now, these people, Allison Russo, Casey Weinstein, Catherine Ingram, Pamela Hicks Hudson, trying to think who else now. Trying to remember names now. Jessica Miranda was another one of them. Cecil Thomas, another one of them. Nikki Antonio is another one of them. We go to the state senator side, then, if that's the case. Herschel Craig was another people and stuff like that. they have been actually pushing to enshrine abortion into Ohio's revised code. Which there's a difference between the revised code and the actual state constitution is what it is. The state constitution is its own thing that, you know, citizens can actually change. The revised code is what we do. What's basically what if I would go down to Columbus right now and lobby for something with the General Assembly, if they would pass it into a law, like, you know, how Constitutional Care was passing a law recently in the past year or so, it would be the revised code side, not the actual state constitution. Which, you know, I'm going to talk about that here in a little bit when it comes to SOPA and stuff like that for one of these amendments, because it's also going to be a few other things as well for that matter. Because we would actually expand on SOPA for that matter. It would also be enshrining constitutional carry and stand your ground in the state constitution. Then is what it would be. So, anyway, but yeah, the whole point is though, you have these individuals who, you know, they're all over Reddit right now. Honestly, on the Ohio subreddit is what it is there, and they're talking about like, oh, the Republicans claim that we're coming for kids, but we're just trying to protect the transgender kids that already exist. It's like, again, there's no child who is transgender that exists already. It's you sick fucking people, you demonic pieces of shit who are literally demon-possessed by Satan himself, who are pushing child sterilization of innocent fucking kids, dude. And I am so sick and tired of it. And I know for a fact other people are too, for that matter. That's why you had over almost 1.5 million people vote yes on issue 1 yesterday. When you go to the actual numbers, legitimately, we're going to go to those numbers right now, actually, and talk about that real quick. So to go to this thing right here. No vote, 1,744,094 people, aka 57% of the vote, never got 6%, by the way. Yes vote, 1,315,346. And I can tell you right now, too, by the way, on that one, there was definitely election meddling going on in this whole thing, because my sister-in-law, who should have been able to vote yes yesterday, couldn't even go vote at all because she did a change of registration here in the last couple of months now, and they never sent her back her fucking new card to actually be have a change of registry is what it was, so she couldn't even go to the polling place to go vote then. So you were and I guarantee that was going on all over the state yesterday too, for that matter. And not to mention, on top of that shit, then you also had, at bare minimum that we know of for a fact, because there's video evidence going around of it, of at least one place in Cuyahoga Falls that was a voting place there, having all kinds of shady shit going on, where they had all their fucking basically Dominion voting machines down, and to, you know, scan the votes and stuff like that is what it was, and they were putting them in an orange fucking container to be quote unquote checked out later. Yeah, right, sure. Keep telling yourselves that, people. Like, seriously, I'm going to call Frank LaRosa's bitch ass out right now, dude. Do your fucking job, Frank LaRosa, Secretary of State, and investigate voter fraud or resign from office, motherfucker. Seriously. You got one or two choices, bro. Either do the job that you were elected to do as Secretary of State and investigate the clear voter fraud going on in the issue 1 election, or resign from office, and we will actually put somebody in place in that position of power who will do the fucking job. Because clearly your bitch ass is too busy running for U.S. Senate right now. Again, to be another career cocksucker is what it is, dude. I'm so fucking sick of it, man. And we're going to talk about that whole thing right now, actually, with LaRosa's bullshit here. So, yeah, we got LaRosa's BS here. Secretary of State Frank LaRose issued a statement following last night regarding issue 1 vote, said, quote, I'm grateful for the nearly 1.3 million, it was over 1.3 million, by the way, Ohioans who stood up with us in this fight, but this is only one battle in a long war. Unfortunately, we were dramatically outspent by dark money billionaires from California to New York, and the giant for sale sign still hangs on Ohio's Constitution. Ohioans will see the devastating impact of this vote soon enough. The radical activists that opposed issue 1 are already planning amendments to shut parents out of a child's life-altering medical procedures, forcing job-killing wage mandates on small business owners, prevent law-abiding citizens from protecting their families, and removing critical protections from our first responders. I've said for months now that there is an assault coming on our Constitution, and that hasn't changed. I'm getting started in a fight to protect Ohio's values. I'm going to call bullshit on the whole thing, dude. If that be the case, he would drop out of the Senate race right now. and just be the state attorney, be the state Secretary of State is what it is, dude. For the state of Ohio. But he's not. He's still running for U.S. Senate right now. It's like you can't do both things, dude. And that's another thing too, by the way. This is like that's actually now I'm thinking about the top of my head right now. That would maybe be another amendment I put in the state constitution. Would be a resign to run act. You know, that would be potentially a 9th on this list. Now I'm thinking about it, so I'm gonna go ahead and actually add that in real quick right now. To run for higher office. So, but yeah, so going back to what we're talking about there, though, you had shit. I was trying to thought entirely. Oh yeah, so you had LaRose basically bitching about stuff he was potentially going to do, but I don't think he's going to do anything. Is what it is. That being said, at about 11 o'clock last night, you had Senate President Matt Hoffman, who is again, like I said, with the whole one county, one rep, enforced term limit thing and stuff like that. He's going to be termed out at the end of this year, is what it is, or not end of this year, end of 2024. So it's about a year and a half almost, just under that from now. The thing is, though, he's already planning on running for the state house next year, breaking term limits. And what was Hoffman saying, though, about issue 1 here? Said the following here, which was, issue 1 is probably coming back in the future, Ohio Senate President says. St. Columbus, Ohio, Ohio Senate President Matt Hoffman, fresh off the news of voters roundly rejecting issue 1. So they didn't roundly or soundly, dumbasses. They had literally 400,000-ish more votes voting no on it than voting yes on it. Again, you had over 3 million people vote in this election cycle, and they claimed it was 70% turnout, honestly, on that one, dude, which makes me think, like, okay, if that be the case, then how many registered voters actually are there in Ohio? Because as far as I'm aware, going back to all these kids that are supposedly voting age now and stuff like that, are 18 and over now and stuff, who never voted before this, dude, there was only roughly 4 million before this. So if you're still trying to claim 4 million, dude, that's a fucking lie entirely. There should be at least like 5 or 6 million at this point then. But there's not, because y'all keep cheating and committing massive voter fraud in all these fucking places, Democrats. So sick of it, man. I really am. Anyway. Said Hoffman said lawmakers would probably bring the issue back before the electorate sometime in the future. Said conceding to reporters that the campaign would likely lose by 8 to 10 points. Hoffman, a key force in bringing the proposal to ballot, said several times on Tuesday's results did not mark the death of the issue or the effort to make constitutional amendments harder to pass in Ohio. Quote, think they'll probably see the question come back, although he later noted it might not be this year. It's not going to be this year, honestly. It would be, at minimum, it would be probably next May, would be my guess, honestly. So Hoffman was quick to spread blame around for the failure. He said, voiceovers, vocal opposition from ex-GOP governors like piece of shit John Kasich and Bob Taft, along with former Republican Attorney General Betty Montgomery. All 3 of those people are pieces of shit, by the way, and they shall be in Ohio prison right now for various felonies they've all committed while they were in office, especially that cocksucker Kasich, who literally tried to steal gun rights when he was governor, and then also a little bit of Somali terrorists in the state right now. That, by the way, 2 of which are in our state house currently is what it is, and would all be booted out under 1 county, 1 rep, honestly. But you'd have 10 Democrats be having to fight off against each other versus 1 Republican, and it would be those 11 people then would become a 2-person general election then, with potentially others being, independents at that point. That's another thing too, by the way, with the 1 county, 1 rep thing. I forgot to mention that part of it. We would actually, going back to obviously the First Amendment, that the first new constitutional amendment I was describing there, we would actually get rid of the 2-party system again, which is what John Kasich put into place back in 2013 to get reelected into office. So, yeah. Get rid of the fucking Kasich Amendment entirely on that one. You would have Ohio now become an open primary again, where you could have anything from Republican, Democrat, Libertarian, Green Party, Constitutional Party, Communist Party, Socialist Party, Internet Libertarian, whatever the case be, doesn't matter, honestly. Anything you'd want to vote as, you could vote as. Anything you want to run as, you could run as. And you would actually have people that could actually have true representation against what it would be then. So, yeah, we wouldn't just be this gerrymandered ass state anymore. We'd be an actual, true constitutional republic state is what it would be. So, anyway. Going back to what Hoffman said here, though, said if we pass this in January and put it on May ballot, we've had a better opportunity to run a campaign and do things. See, that's the problem, though. And this is why I will kind of agree with what a lot of leftists have said about like the Enron thing and stuff. It's like, yeah, you guys were trying to undercut the fucking abortion thing in November. The problem is the whole abortion amendment in November should have never even been on the ballot to begin with, dude. Like truthfully, honestly, if we were a true just society right now here in the state of Ohio, every single Board of Elections member that voted through that bullshit amendment would be in jail right now. They would be in Ohio State Prison currently on various felony charges like bribery, etc. there, dude. Because I guarantee they were bribed to fucking, pass the fucking shit through what it was, this one amendment. When the amendment itself, honestly, if you go back to Frank LaRosa's office, Secretary of State, where it had to be certified, they shouldn't have even certified the shit, man. They have the legal authority to be like, no, we're not going to allow you to mass genocide the unborn at this point. Go fuck yourself and just shred that shit through a fucking shredder is what it is, dude. It should have never saw the fucking light of day to begin with. It should have been like, nope, sorry, out of state money, go fuck yourself. Zip. Zoom, done. So, because that's what it is, dude. You look at the actual who's funding the abortion amendment there, it's fucking ACLU through George Soros. As well as Planned Parenthood is also another out-of-state fucking interest. By literal Nazi, or little Nazi-esque eugenicist, Margaret Sanger, who's created that shit, dude, to kill a black race. Legitimately. People are too stupid to actually realize that, too, by the way, that the whole Planned Parenthood was created by a fucking racist named Margaret Sanger who wanted to annihilate the black race from existence in this country. And that's why it's so disgusting, dude, to see people still go to that fucking place and kill kids in the womb. Anyway. Let's see. Going back to what was said by Hoffman here, he said, yeah, I spent do it in January, get it on May, and have an actual time to do a campaign. He said that roughly $60 million the state spent to hold the election was worth it. Not really, though. So it's an important question. And with the time we had to work with, you'll probably see the question coming back. So had issue 1 passed, future constitutional amendments would have needed 60% of the vote to pass instead of 50% plus 1 vote currently. Plus, organizers would have had to gather signatures from more counties than under current law, and also wouldn't be granted a 10-day grace period to gather signatures, aka cure period, if state officials had deemed enough invalid. See, that's my problem entirely. And I've said it before, dude. Like, I have a problem with that cure period anyway, because again, it's exactly why the weed thing's going on the ballot too, for that matter now, because it's like, oh yeah, they had, it's like 697 votes short or whatever, and it's like, okay, cool, you have 10 more days now to get that 700 fucking votes you need now. And they did. They got like, I think it was something like 65,000 or something crazy like that. And it's like, dude, where the hell were all these people before that? Like, seriously, if you like, because the thing is, here's the thing, right? When you're doing the constitutional amendment thing in the state, dude, you basically have 90 days from the start date. So you got 3 months to do it, man. Seriously, you couldn't find 65,000 something people in that fucking 90-day original time span. You had to wait another 10 fucking days on top of that to get it done. Seems pretty fucking shady to me, dude. But then when you actually look at who's the people behind the whole legalized weed like alcohol thing, again, it's a bunch of out-of-state billionaires that are going to directly profit from weed being legalized here, because they're going to be the ones running running distributors, running the people that are actually producing the weed in various places, etc. They're going to be basically controlling all of it, monopolizing the shit, dude. And that's exactly why we voted the shit down the last time around. It was like a decade and a half ago almost now, where you had that on the thing before to make recreational weed a thing here in Ohio. And at the time, it was a bunch of mostly elderly people then that were like, nah, fuck that. And by the way, they were the ones that could use it the most, honestly, from arthritis and everything else like that. That's what it was. And all their health issues that could have been cured from, smoking a joint or, edible gummies or whatever be there. The whole point entirely, though, is you have these people who at that time was Nick Lachey and a bunch of Hollywood leftists and stuff like that, who were trying to basically monopolize on the thing. And that's why we put it down then. It's the same kind of shit, though, now. It's basically, like I said, it's the Bloomberg, the Soros types from out of state is what it is, dude. That want to make a profit here in Ohio And it's exactly what LaRose was saying there in his little comment about, Ohio's constitution for sale there. Because it's people who are trying to fuck with our state constitution, knowing that they could directly profit off of it. They're a bunch of profiteers is what it is. They're a bunch of billionaires trying to become trillionaires off Ohioans' backs and Ohioans' tax dollars. Fuck that shit. If anybody's going to become a millionaire, a billionaire, etc., it should be someone like myself who can sit here and be part of something from the ground fucking up and be able to profit off of it legitimately. And I've said it before, honestly. When I've tried to run for office before, dude, I've run under a platform with the 100 for 100 initiative is what it was. 100 for 100 initiative would have been any person who wanted to get into the game, come up with $100, you become part of a grow operation. 60 days from then or so, give or take, whenever the weed's going to be harvested and stuff like that, you have one of two choices. You either stay in and you essentially start doubling down with like a little bit more is what it is every time then, up to like 10 times is when your cap out is what it is there. Or you leave with the check that you're going to be presented for a few $1,000s, whatever it is there. And meanwhile, you then have some taxation taken from it is what it was from the state then, because it would be the state that would be funding the cost of, various electricity bills and stuff like that in these places would be then. And obviously the housing for the plants and everything else like that would be. The only thing would be with the 100 for 100 initiative would have been the people that would be part of it actually going in there to, be part of the actual grows. What it would be. They would have to go in there and actually, do the testing and the water stuff and everything else like that. And I think there's been a little bit different than what it is now or whatever there. I think you can actually do it like more automated and stuff like that now, but it's like even still, we would basically force them to do something there to be, part of the actual operations would be then. And it's not just like, oh yeah, you're going to basically buy in for this $100 and then just sit back and wait for the check to come in like 2 months or whatever it is then. It's like, no, you actually do work to get there is what it is. Like it would basically be a way to make entrepreneurship in this state is what it would be. And people that would want to, learn the basics of, growing and then, from like the growing point to the selling point, etc. there. And potentially you would have a bunch of mom and pop shops then later on open up. And that's how it should be, dude. You should be able to have people that can go, with a pipe and a dream and actually become something, make something of themselves. But that's the problem right now, right? It's a bunch of special interest people. It's a bunch of out-of-state billionaires, etc., just trying to line their own fucking pockets on our tax dollars, on our dime. I don't know about the rest of you, but I sure as shit don't want that, dude. Do I want legalized weed in this state? Fuck yeah, I do. Do I want legalized weed as a Graham Act and not just like legalized weed? Yes, I want legalized weed as a Graham Act so my gun rights aren't fucked with. I would like to see that also federally for that matter. Because it's bullshit you currently have marijuana as a Schedule 1 narcotic when it shouldn't be at all. And it's the only reason they do that right now is because it's the DEA / alphabet agency fuckboys out there trying to screw people with gun rights is what it is right now. Because if you have weed and firearms together, oh, now you're a fucking felon somehow. It's absolute bullshit entirely, dude. It's like and the thing is, it's not even like it wouldn't have to be like an actual like joint or a pack of joints or whatever, or even just like some loose weed or whatever with some rolling papers or something. It could be as simple as like edible gummies and stuff like that, or even just like a THC vape or something. And it's like, just because you have that and you have a firearm with you at the time doesn't mean anything, dude. It just means, hey, this person could be in chronic fucking pain like I am every day of my life right now from medical industry issues I've had for the past 20 years of my life now. And it's like, yeah, I could just use something to take the fucking edge off every so often. Should they interfere with me having my gun rights stripped from me? Fuck no. And that's the entire point, dude. It's a bunch of bullshit all the way around is what it is. And again, it goes back to the government tyranny we've been facing in this country for decades now. From the same old billionaire pieces of shit same old pieces of shit who have become millionaires and then multimillionaires, in some cases billionaires, in office in the past 40, 50 years of their fucking shitty-ass political careers there, like Biden, etc. there, who will sit there and suck Big Pharma's dick and be in league with these assholes. And yet, meanwhile, because they're, jerking off Big Pharma and taking bribes from these people behind closed doors and shit like that, and then doing all kind, and that's another reason, by the way, why Congress and Senate aren't forced to basically go to prison for insider trading, because every single one of them does it. when you look at Pelosi stock trades and stuff like that, when you look at any people's stock trades, Elizabeth Warren done quite a bit actually, for that matter too. She'll sit there and bitch. Same thing with Bernie Sanders too, for that matter. They'll sit there and bitch and moan about like, oh, climate change this, climate change that. Yet meanwhile, they have actual oil stock that they've sold in the past like 5 to 10 years of their lives while being U.S. senators is what it is. And then at the same time, you'll have like, there was a lot of ones actually with the when Ohio was doing the Intel plan here a few months ago. It was right before Congress passed that CHIPS Act thing. You had Pelosi and a whole bunch of Democrats and a few rhinos too, for that matter. It was my ex-state rep, or sorry, not my ex-state rep, my ex federal congressman. I'm trying to think what the fucking guy's name is now. I want to say Bob Led, but that's not who it is. It was Jesus Christ. He was in there for like 20 something years is what it was. But yeah, one of the last things he did in office is basically short sell a bunch of stock there. Or not short sell, but he basically sold off a bunch of stock right as the CHIPS Act was about to go through there, because he didn't have knowledge that it was going to go, crazy. And so he sold a bunch of one stock and then bought in a bunch of microchip stock is what it was. Which is why he never rushed to be in jail right now, honestly. And that's the problem right now, is you can have Congress and Senate legally insider trade, but yet meanwhile, if any day people like me did it or whatever the case, we would go to jail then. So just like Martha Stewart did, some years back now. It's a bunch of shit, dude, entirely. But anyway, so basically, that's the problem with the whole legalized weed thing, is that you have these people coming from out of state to make money in this state, when in reality, it should be the Ohioans who live in this state making the money is what it is. So, anywho. But let's see where we're at now. Oh yeah, we're talking about the 10-day cure period there on the article with Hoffman. So going back to the article, and then we're going to get back to the actual amendments I'm going to talk about here in a few minutes then, which we already talked about. One county, one rep would be the first one, obviously. It said this election was scheduled in August, typically a sleepy time for political calendars, to ensure that its stiffer rules would apply to be a scheduled referendum in November that would legalize abortion in Ohio. Said Ohio Right to Life President Michael Gananakis, I think it's a guy's name, one of the main public faces of the Vote Yes campaign, said Ohio will regret the vote it took today. He declined to pass blame around besides for the voters who he said were, quote, confused by claims made by the Vote No campaign. Because a lot of them were, actually, like I said, with that chick I was talking to at my doctor's office yesterday. And I guarantee there was a lot of Republicans like her, honestly, that would have voted yes otherwise, had they known the truth is what it was. But because, again, and that's the thing, you look at what Democrats do. They love to do this shit, dude. Democrats and their puppet masters, we're going to call them, their Bloomberg types and stuff like that out there that are funding these campaigns and shit. They love to confuse people, because they know if they confuse someone enough, that person will just be like, well, fuck it, I'm just going to vote no out of like whatever then. And so they'll actually doing the research and being like, oh, wait, it's these anti-gun fuckers who are trying to steal our gun rights away from us that are funding this Vote No campaign. Well, fuck them, I'm going to vote yes then. So, anyway. Let's see. Right now. Yeah, the guy also said outside groups that will continue to spread heavily in Ohio to similarly confound voters to schedule referendums on weed and abortion in November, and potential future amendments involving redistricting, the minimum wage, and animal welfare laws. Not to mention, they would also steal gun rights, is what it was there. So both the yes and no campaigns were bankrolled by out-of-state billionaire contributors. This is what I think is funny, though. It's the one Illinois guy, billionaire, funneled like, I think they said the other day in the AP it was like 2 million, maybe 3 million at most. You literally had Bloomberg and company do tens of fucking millions of dollars, dude. It was Bloomberg and Soros, at least $17 million in this race. So, anyway. It said in favor of the proposal, said, quote, you can spend 50 to 75 million and convince anyone that's what's right. Which right is left and left is right, he said. That's what they're doing right now. They're going to continue to do it in November with weed and abortion, and they're going to do it next year. Former Ohio Supreme Court Chief Justice Maureen O'Connor with her districting, and then the minimum wage, and then your family farmers. Exactly. Said, however, Mike Expected conservatives will come home in November and reject the proposed weed and abortion amendments. See, I'm not so sure about the weed thing though, honestly, because like I said, even with me and like being against the shit, dude, like I still want legal weed in this state, is what it is, dude. Because it's bullshit to be like really. This is a real problem, honestly, right? The only reason that our General Assembly currently has not passed legal weed in Ohio is because of fucking Frank LaRose, whose family is a giant distributor for Anheuser-Busch. The guy is his own special interest within the state, is what it is, dude. That's why he shouldn't be Secretary of State right now, honestly. Because he's literally a fucking douchebag whose entire family has a giant beer distributor that directly has ties to Anheuser-Busch there and does a bunch of their beer distribution and stuff like that. And that's exactly why LaRose doesn't want legal weed, because he knows for a fact that we had legal weed in the state, it would undercut his fucking beer sales. That's a huge problem right there. That's a huge conflict of interest, dude. Enough to the point where it's like, you should not be in office, sir, at all. So, yeah, like that's a big problem I have. And I want to make that very clear, by the way, because there was a bunch of like, I think there's a lot of people that are confusing. Like, I actually like back Frank LaRose somehow on Twitter and stuff like that, dude. It's like, no, I just hate the left that much, is what it is, dude. Like, I'm not sitting here trying to fucking, white knight for this guy or anything like that. I fucking hate LaRose for that matter, dude. I've hated his ass since 2018, honestly. Never voted for him in 2018. Never voted for his ass in 2022. In 2018, I voted for was some libertarian dude that was on the ballot at the time. And then in 2022, it was that Tor woman who I voted for. And sadly, she didn't get anywhere near the votes, is what it was there. So, or wait, no. Was it Tor or was it I'm trying to remember now. Because there was another state, there was an ex-state rep that was on the ballot too. And I can't remember if it was him or it was Tor then that I voted for there. But it wasn't LaRose, I know that for a fact, though. So, yeah. It was somebody else in the primaries. And then I think even in the general election, like I was still so pissed off because LaRose actually won the primaries, what it was there. I'm like, no, fuck this guy. I'm not voting for him at all, is what it was. I just left that ballot blank, is what it was, dude. So, because I was like, yeah, fuck Frank LaRose, dude, for real. And there was a couple other ones left blank, too, for that matter, like that son of a bitch Kirk Shearing, who I should have been with a primary back in May of last year, but unfortunately, because the way that I was censored by social media sites, I could never get on the ballot myself to primary that motherfucker. So, anyway. Yeah, like I said, though, I'm not sure about that Mike dude, if he would actually be legit about people, like, dropping down weed or whatever. Because, again, I think there's a lot of people in this state right now, even like my elderly mother right now who has Parkinson's disease. Like, we've talked about it before, dude. I was like, you probably would be a great test patient for, something, gummies, whatever the case be, some kind of THC lace something. And she basically agreed with me on that one. And if it was legal here, we would probably have her on something right now, honestly. So, because the problem is right now, it's like medical only. And the problem with medical only is that it's like you basically give up your gun rights then for that. And we're not doing that shit here, man. So, I'm not trading one right for another right, is what it is, dude. Because honestly, truthfully, you don't really have a right to, like, whatever there. But you do have a right to Second Amendment, is what it is. You have a right to keep and bear arms in the state, in this country. It's the only right in the U.S. Constitution, for that matter, that shall not be infringed upon, is what it is, dude, for real. So, anyway, stop trying to do that shit, Democrats, you fucking scumbags. Because we'll keep beating you in fucking court cases, you assholes. Anywho, going back to the rest of that article, and then we're going to get to the rest of the amendments last time I hear, though. But yeah, that Mike dude from High Rich Life said it would come home in November and reject proposed amendments on weed and abortion. I could see weed passing, abortion being told to go fuck itself, though. So this is at 11 o'clock Tuesday night. Issue 1 was losing by 44% to 56%. It was actually 57 to 43 then eventually. The problem I really have with this whole thing was you had pieces of shit like the AP and et cetera there, dude. They legitimately called the fucking race within like less than an hour. You had 700,000 early votes. You have piece of shit Shannon Watts and the rest of the anti-gun fuckers out there, and the rest of the anti-life fuckers for that matter too, using that 700,000 early voters, where it was a majority Democrats that voted no on the whole thing, as, oh, look, we have like 60, 70, 68% of the fucking vote here. No, you don't, you lying fucking cunts. What you had was 700,000 people early vote, and you do exactly what you fuckers do every goddamn time, which is you sit there and you fucking lie your fucking asses off and sit there and claim, oh, 90% of Americans or 90% of Ohioans support abortion or 90% of Ohioans support gun control. No, we don't. Who supports that bullshit is the 468 to 500 something people, you fucking idiots, go out there and poll in shithole fucking areas like Franklin County, right in the Democrat hell pocket of Columbus. And that's the problem right now. It's a skewed fucking poll every single time, dude, because you have like literally 5-1 most of the time for Democrats. And of course, most Democrats still voting Democrat in 2023 and also being, shocker, the same fucking people who 3 years ago bashed up the Ohio State House should be multi-time felons right now, but yet still have voting rights in this state. And that's another thing, too, by the way, when you're talking about massive voter fraud, dude. I guarantee there was 700 people yesterday that voted that shouldn't even have voting rights in the state right now because they should have been arrested and prosecuted down in Franklin County over 3 years ago for committing violent Antifa and BLM-style riot felonies when they were smashing up the Ohio State House windows and going inside the fucking buildings and vandalizing a bunch of old statues and stuff like that, that literally cost the taxpayers here, people like myself, millions of fucking dollars to get the graffiti off of. It's a bunch of shit, dude, entirely, and it pisses me the fuck off that these little shit stains are still fucking able to vote in the state when they should be career fucking felons right now, and they should be in prison currently serving terrorist felonies. So anyway, that was it for that thing, though. So going back to what we're talking about with amendments, though, which actually brings us up to an amendment that I was going to talk about way later on, but I'll talk about it now is what it is. So one of the other ones I was going to propose here, this goes down way far into the actual thing, though, which is basically the 7th of 9, which would be, and I quote, so well, I don't know if we're going to call it this or not, but this is basically the current running thing for it. The left are terrorist acts, which would declare Antifa, Black Lives Matter, and other similar leftist-run organizations as the domestic terrorist organizations they always have been. That's one amendment we're going to talk about doing at some point in the future. Going back up, though, after the one county, one rep thing. So you have one county, one rep being number 1 on the list. And then from there you have... Oops. Wrong thing. Who would be trying to do what I call the Ohio Donors Only Act, which, like I said in a Twitter post earlier today, it was Democrats outside of Ohio poured more than $20 million, because it was true, actually, they did pour about roughly $20 million into this thing, or maybe $22 million, something like that, into the Vote No campaign against Issue 1. Starting today, Ohio Patriot Education Network will begin working on an amendment to the Ohio Constitution that bans for life all out-of-state financial funding for any political race or ballot issue. Anyone caught attempting to use out-of-state funding will automatically be thrown out of any race that they are involved in, any ballot issue that are found to have dark money groups, etc., from out-of-state funding them. Those groups will see arrest warrants put out for the people in control of them. Said warrants will result in a minimum sentence of life imprisonment in the state of Ohio. Fuck around and find out, motherfuckers. Because we're sick and tired of it. This is something that should be a nationwide thing at this point, honestly. You should never be able to fund out of your own state. It's exactly why that little cunt, Sherrod Brown, is going hobnobbing in California with millionaires and billionaires so they'll fund his fucking shitty re-election campaign next year. Not anymore, motherfucker. Asshole. Fucking cheating son of a bitch. Number 3 that I plan on proposing here, the 1,000-Year Moratorium Act. For the next 1,000 years, Article 1, Section 4 of the Ohio Constitution and any other founding part of the Ohio Constitution may not be altered or removed and any person or group try. Again, fuck around and find out, bitches. You done pissed off a really fucking angry grizzly bear that has autism. And I got nothing left to lose, assholes. So, you know. Anyway, going back to proposed amendments, number 4 on the list, which kind of goes to number 3 there is what it is, which would be SOPA / Second Amendment Preservation Act. That also would include constitutional carry and stand your ground being enshrined in the Ohio Constitution. Basically, this is just a way for any kind of future electorate that would be potentially Democrat run, whatever the case be, if they actually ever did get power here, is what it is. They could never try to fuck with our gun rights, is what it is, because everything from Second Amendment Preservation Act to ensure that federal assholes couldn't fuck with us at the federal level to state assholes couldn't fuck with us at the state level there. And that's why we'd also enshrine constitutional carry and stand your ground into the state constitution then, because essentially what it would be is we would actually technically do a slight update to Article 1, Section 4, where it would be what it is right now, but then it would be like a subsection of that as an amendment to it, and that's what that would be part of it. Would be the SOPA, constitutional carry, stand your ground legislation put into that then. So, anyway. Continuing on. Number 5 on the list, which is what I refer to as the Crimes Against Humanity Act, says similar to the 1,000-year moratorium act, it prevents any person or group from attempting to mass genocide the unborn, completely bans Planned Parenthood and other such groups in the state of Ohio, and also stops any person or group from putting children on sterilization drugs like HRT by claiming they are transgender. Anyone who breaks this act is subject to first-degree felony charges, including but not limited to the death penalty for crimes against humanity. Number 6, mutual combat law. For those who know, mutual combat has already existed in a bunch of other states. Basically, 2 more people can agree to fight each other and make it legal. The cops cannot arrest you for fighting in public and stuff like that. Something that should have happened in the state a long time ago, honestly, dude. Probably one of the more easy ones to pass in this one. Then, like I said, number 7 would be the left or terrorist acts, declares Antifa, BLM, etc., terrorist organizations in the state of Ohio. Treats them as such then. Number 8, the City States Act of 2024 would create city-states out of Ohio's major cities, including Columbus, Cincinnati, Cleveland, Dayton, Toledo, etc. These city-states will then hold zero power at a state or federal level and will be denied any state or federal funding. Again, fuck around and find out, leftists. You pissed off the wrong motherfucker in this whole thing. And then finally, the last but not least is one I mentioned earlier, which is basically the Resign to Run for Higher Office Act, which would be exactly what LaRosa is doing right now, where he's trying to run for U.S. Senate while being the Secretary of State. What a bunch of others are doing currently as well. Anybody that would try to run for U.S. president and still be a sitting governor here, or whatever the case be, they would be resigned from office to run. Same thing if they were, a state senator or state rep, or even, federal senator or federal rep, whatever it is there. They would basically be forced to vacate that office to then run for the higher one. And at that point, you would then have a special election, no matter what it is, for that office to replace them then. Actually, I just have another one too, for that matter. So number 10 on the list, actually, it kind of goes back to the one county, one rep thing as well. That might just become more part of one county, one rep, actually, now I'm thinking about it, because that potential one county, one rep could be a whole slew of stuff is what it is there. That would all be like one giant amendment thing is what would be there, kind of like how they're doing the abortion amendment here in November. But it might be its own thing, though. So currently, the way that Ohio's constitution works, or revised code, whatever it is, I'm not sure which one it is. But basically, if somebody vacates office in the state of Ohio as a state rep or state senator, We don't hold special elections to replace that person. What happens is you basically have the General Assembly, whatever the party is that person was under, you have them now getting a chance to decide who they want to replace that person with and appoint, which is absolute bullshit to me, dude. Because again, if you want to talk, and the problem with that too as well is it's not only Republicans that do it all the time, it's Democrats that have done it a lot too, for that matter, in the past 5 years or so. The issue there is, you have voters in whatever district it is there, man, who have chosen this person to represent them in our state house or our state senate, for that matter. Even if you would want to leave a state senate or whatever, they do the same thing there. But yeah, you have that person being voted into office to represent that district in our General Assembly, but yet you just subverted the will of the voters in either major party there by replacing that person with some random ass fucking stooge. It's bullshit, dude, entirely. And it's exactly why Tom Young, who's a current state rep here, was the guy that, got arrested recently for domestic violence for like smacking his wife or whatever it was. That's why he basically told Jason Stevens to go fucking suck a dick. Because the only reason that Stevens also wants Young to resign is because Jason Stevens, being the current Speaker of the House, because he got all the fucking Democrat, starting Allison Russo's ass, to basically back him for that speakership. By the way, the last person who did that was current federal inmate Larry Householder, bribery scandal Larry, HB6 Larry, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, so basically you have Stevens now wanting to replace Young with some fucking Stevens stooge is what it is, dude. That he appoints there is what it is. It's bullshit entirely, dude. And what pisses me the fuck off, honestly, is I even called people out on that one probably about 6 months to a year ago, honestly, on Twitter there. And I was like, bro, this is fucking bullshit. Like, why are we not allowing special elections to happen when you had Chris Jordan literally die while he was sitting in office? Because that's the thing, right? The people in Chris Jordan's district chose Chris Jordan to be their 2A champion, to be their state representative. They didn't choose some fucking asshole who's now replaced him there. And that's what I think is absolute bullshit entirely, dude. And that's another thing. And that's exactly why I would do that potentially 10th Amendment then, if that'd be the case then. Which would be something like that, where it would be, hey, going forward, anybody that would leave the General Assembly, there is an automatic election held to replace that seat then. And I would even go further than that to say, because the problem with that would be, it wouldn't really be a special election, because most cases it would be, we have obviously elections throughout the years, what it is. So it'd be like May election or November election, whatever the case. But there's obviously that big period between the two things, right? So you could potentially have a sitting vacated seat for like 6 months is what it would be. Okay, so then they would have no representation at all is what it would be for that district. So you could potentially, what you'd have as a in-between kind of thing in that amendment as well would just be something where it would be any person from that district may submit legislation on their own as potential things for the rest of the General Assembly to look at and potentially pass then. And that way they would have, potential, a bunch of different, state reps then for a little bit of time then. And that's how it should be anyway, because again, it should be something like that, where you have the people being able to, in this constitutional republic, have the ability to say what the hell's going to be put on, through various legislation, what it is there, or even be able to submit legislation for that matter, which is kind of what people are doing here with constitutional amendments. It would be. So it'd basically be that, but it would be for that state house side for a little bit. If they didn't have no representation, it would be then. So, or if nothing else, it might be something where it would be like, as long as the people, like, you would have to basically hold some kind of a thing there, like referendum or whatever, and it would be like, as long as X amount of people from that district or whatever would sign on to, having that seat filled for a time being by like some appointed person, whatever the case be. But they, if nothing else, actually, what it might be actually is have, like for like a sort of special election kind of thing or whatever, then it would be like, okay, anybody that wants to run for that office or whatever for the time, that would be the citizen of the district there is what it is. They can throw their hat in the ring is what it would be then. And you would basically have, just like 10, 15 people, whatever the case be. You could have the voter base just choose one randomly out of there, out of nowhere is what it would be then. And it would be kind of a special election, but it wouldn't really be like, crazy like thing or whatever. and then it would be an actual election whenever then, November, May, whatever comes first then for that next go around for that one. They could actually hold like actual elections in that county is what it would be for that district is what it would be then. So anyway, again, just spitballing ideas here is what it is. But the entire point is though, it's like, yeah, you have all these scumbag ass motherfuckers in our General Assembly right now, dude, who have broken their oaths time and again. I'm not going to sit here and say Republicans haven't done it too, because there's a bunch that have, honestly. A bunch that have, honestly, dude. Not Bob. Bob Peterson actually is one of them more recently because he gave the Democrats 100% Democrat-backed gun control bills fucking hearings in the House Oversight Committee. Then you had a piece of shit Bill Seitz many times in the last couple General Assemblies now. Fuck around with rights there is what it was, and specifically the last General Assembly. He took out a part of the amendment for what then became constitutional carry in the state of Ohio, which would have allowed for any weapon to be carried constitutionally and concealed and stuff like that on someone's person, including a knife, a baton, etc. Because that's the thing, right? Like, there's a lot of people in the state right now because the way that constitutional carry is in place right now, because they didn't do 18 and over, they did 21 and over. So you're talking about you had 18, 19, and 20-year-olds not be able to legally carry something on themselves for protection, especially in these major cities where they could potentially get jumped, dude. Or in that same vein of things, because you have, places like Ohio State where they basically control like entire city blocks down there in the main heart of Columbus there. You can't step on the campus armed without potentially looking at risking some kind of a charge or like criminal trespass or some shit like that's what it is, which is absolute garbage, dude, because again, it's a bullshit ass state college fucking with American citizens' constitutional rights to keep and bear arms in the state. And what do you have around Ohio State's campus all the time? Oh, yeah, that's right. Muggings, robberies, carjackings, rapes, even a couple murders here and there. And that's the problem right now. You should have any of these college students, 18, 19, 20 years old, if they want to carry a knife for protection, concealed, let them. If they want to carry a baton concealed, let them. If they want to carry a big old fucking can of bear mace in a big ass fucking cargo shorts pocket, let them. Seriously. It's bullshit, dude. And then, of course, when they become 21 and they can legally carry under Ohio's constitutional carry law, have a gun, carry a gun. Simple as that, honestly. That being said, from what I understand, though, there's a specific precinct down in the Ohio State campus area there where 98% of these idiot fucking college kids voted no yesterday. So again, it really does kind of go back to the whole 25 and over thing, where it's like, should we just have voting age raised to 25? Honestly, that might be another amendment. Actually, I'm thinking about right now to just add in there, be like, raise the voting age to 25 in the state of Ohio or something like that. Actually, and kind of do it like the Vivek way is what it would be. So it'd be like, it wouldn't be like, you couldn't have it be like constitutional challenge or whatever, because there would actually be like caveats to it then. So it would still be legal, and it would essentially be age 25 or some civil service kind of thing is what it would be then. So it'd be, military service, go and work for Habitat for Humanity, Big Brothers, Big Sisters, any kind of thing like that is what it'd be. Serve the community is what it'd be then, or serve the military or whatever it is then, serve America then, defend, our constitutional republic would be then. And you can basically have voting rights, that's what it is, at 18 then. But yeah, if you're not going to do that stuff, then guess what? Not till 25, bitches. So, although I'm sure somebody try to sue anyway, because they'd probably be like, oh, this isn't constitutional. It's like, bullshit, it's not, dude. We give you choices. You chose not to do anything was what it was. And that's why you can't vote right now. So, anyway, I don't know. I feel like our country's just heading into a bad direction is what it is right now. And unfortunately, just like with this vote no yesterday there, it's led us to even more of that shit right now. This is the reason why I've done almost an hour now talking about this whole thing and discussing various, constitutional amendments I plan on introducing here in the state of Ohio in the coming months to next year or so. And hoping that, at least a couple people will get on board and help me out with some of the volunteer signature gathering and stuff like that. Because I plan on talking to some people here in the next couple of weeks is what it is now over this stuff. I've already thrown out some feelers right now today about it, and hopefully I'll be contacted by some people in the next couple of weeks or whatever. Then we could just start getting things done then, and get it done as quickly as possible. Then at the same time, actually, I'm going to use it as a 2-pronged attack then, because we can do that for that. I'm also going to obviously throw my hat in the ring then for county commissioner as well on that one. We can actually gather my signatures then at the same time for my county commissioner's race then that I would need to have for valid signature people for that particular race to run then in the primary. So, anywho, but yeah, that's pretty much it. That was what it would be then. So essentially, one county, one rep would be one of them. Then we would have a Ohio Donors Only Act, where you can only get financial donations in the state of Ohio. Any outside special interest groups, any outside donations are null and void then, and potentially face prison time for the people that would be giving them. 1,000-year moratorium to protect our current gun rights and everything else in the state constitution that's been there from the beginning. Adding Second Amendment Preservation Act, constitutional carry, and stand your ground in the state constitution, potentially under a subsection of Article 1, Section 4. Crimes Against Humanity Act, as I said before, stopping people from mass murdering the unborn and stopping kids from being sterilized by hormone drugs. Number 6, Mutual Combat Law. Number 7, the Leftist Terrorist Acts, declares Antifa, BLM, etc. as a leftist terrorist organization they always have been. Number 8, City States Act of 2024, making Columbus, Cleveland, Cincinnati, etc. city states that hold no power at a state or federal level outside of their little jurisdiction there. And they get no state or federal funding either, for that matter. Number 9, Resign to Run Act. And then finally, number 10, which was what I just mentioned a couple minutes ago about having state lawmakers that vacate office, having those seats be filled in special elections instead of by appointment by the party that they were from. So, anyway, that's pretty much it for the day. I will be back, Wednesday. I'll be back tomorrow for Buckshot Thursday, hopefully with some people on the panel that day. And we will be doing some various good stuff here. We'll have some two-way scenarios potentially if we can have panelists. If not, then I'll just start checking out some various articles and bearing arms stuff and seeing what's going on, locally is what it is here. And I assume Justin Bibb is giddy as fuck today because he's a piece of shit that wants to enshrine anti-gun crap into our state constitution, and he can go fuck himself because he should be resigned from office right now is what it is, dude. And by resigning from office, I don't mean letting him resign from office. I mean literally yanking him out of office in handcuffs for deprivation of law and arresting his ass right there. Same thing with Rain Drummond's bitch ass. That is the Cleveland police chief. So, because again, these men cannot control their own city, but instead of actually, doing something to fucking fix the problem, like either resigning yourself from office, letting somebody else do the fucking job better than you, or actually prosecuting violent fucking offenders under the age of 18 as adults and getting them up the damn streets once and for all. No, let's just attack legal gun rights in the state of Ohio because, again, why not, Democrats? It's your always go-to plan to create more gun-free zones, and then you wonder why more massacres happen in all these gun-free zones. Fuck you, Justin Bibb. Fuck you, Andrew Ginther. Fuck you, Allison Russo. Fuck you, Casey Weinstein. Fuck the entire Democrat Party in the state of Ohio. Hope you assholes enjoy your final days in office, because guess what? We're also going to Article 1, Section 2 your fucking asses pretty soon. Starting with you, Allison, you fucking cunt. Hope you guys enjoy this episode. I'll see you all in the next one. Later.